Perfect. Values development scale. Remember we spoke about the VPs to the VDS to the DN, the value propositions within the value development scale that are going to support the durable network. What is it, Tom? Okay, we're good. Let's concentrate now, because this is where we get into the practical part of how do we do this. So first of all, the value development scale, what is it? A journey in adopting shared core values and vision. So trying to think how to really simplify this. Let's start from what we know. So when you know the expressions, those 6 expressions we spoke about, for each of those expressions, we are going to have a value development scale. For each of those expressions, we want to take each one of those communities, each one of those members within each one of those expressions, we want to take them on a journey in adopting shared core values and visions, that by the time they've gone through the value development scale, by the time they've gone on that journey, they've adopted God's word, every child. They've seen the importance of the church working in unity. They've seen the importance of reaching the next generation, and they've made that a part of who they are. They themselves then go out and start advocating, and that's how the catalyst, the movement grows and grows and grows. So what does a value development scale look like? What does that journey look like for each community? So we have something that we refer to, I think this is actually taken from the marketing world, but we've kind of pulled it into the ministry as well. But that is the value development scale. And those are some of the terms we've come up with thus far. We can change if we need to. But remember, we need to be in line with what the rest of Africa is doing as well. We can't run off in our own direction. There needs to be that unity as well. So this is your value development scale. It's made up of 5 steps: encounter, engage, believe, identify, and multiply. We can change those terms as we go through and as we work on this together. But we also refer to that as a funnel. Why do we refer to it as a funnel? Do you see that it's shaped like this? In my mind, it should actually be shaped more like that. What does it mean? Because think of it this way, guys. This is your journey, okay? So now you've got the pastor's expression. You want to interact, you want to encounter as many pastors as you can. You want to share the Africa vision with as many pastors as you can. That will be at the top. So you will have a lot of people coming in there. You have a conference of 1,000 pastors to advocate. 1,000 people coming into the network, 1,000 people coming into your database. But as you take them on this journey, and I'll explain how you take them on that journey, or how we think we can take them on the journey, as you go, you lose more and more and more people. Because not everyone is going to buy wholeheartedly into the vision. Not everyone is going to give their all. So as you go down on this journey, you're going to be losing people, losing people, losing people. So it's narrowing, it's narrowing. But when you get to this stage, you're going to have those champions. Those people who are really believe in the mission, believe in the vision, they've adopted those core values, and they are championing this African vision, and they're multiplying it. They themselves become the catalyst. Okay. So that is your value development scale. Okay. Is that clear? Do you see how it's a journey? Encounter, engage, believe, identify, multiply. And as you go, it becomes narrower and narrower. You lose people on the journey. Okay. Sorry, just to go back. Oh, that's okay. Let's move on. Value development and durable network. The value development scale is a framework or process for developing a strategy to implement the durable network. So the value development scale is that framework that is going to be your durable network. It creates the framework for the durable network. So remember, we've spoken about the African vision. We've spoken about the Africa vision. What is going to help us achieve the Africa vision? What is that vehicle? It's the durable network. Within the durable network, we have the 6 expressions. For each of those 6 expressions, we're going to have a value development scale, and that value development scale, that funnel, is going to form the framework of each of those expressions. Does that make sense? That's your framework, that's your bones, that's your structure, your strategy that you are going to follow, we are going to follow in each one of those expressions. Exactly. I don't want to jump ahead, but let me give you an example. Maybe it will solidify things for you more if I do this. So let's say, for example, your value development scale. Information is power. Okay. So you hold a conference where you are advocating for children and youth ministry, and you share the vision of One Hope, or you share the vision of your ministry in line with the vision and mission with One Hope. You've encountered 1,000 pastors. You've encountered them now. You get a database. You get their email address. You get their phone number. You get any kind of open door to communication with them because they've attended your conference. That for me can be encountered. You have encountered them. Now you go back and now you want to introduce them to this network. So, and this is very simple. It's going to be a lot more in-depth, but it's very simple. So you send them an email. You send them the GYC report. You send them a monthly newsletter. You're sending them information. That is where the engagement comes in. Now you're getting communication back from them. You send them the GYC report, and maybe you've got a call to action there. Hey, join this WhatsApp group, or hey, can you answer this question about your church? You're getting some sort of engagement from them. So you move them from encounter to engage, then you move them from engage to believe through a system and a process. You move them from believe to identify, but as you're going, it's becoming more and more narrow. So it's very, very practical, guys, this, and I'm going to show you how it's practical. Yes, Esther?
I'm just thinking from this one, I think it's really important for ourselves also to see where are we at that
Yeah.
Stuff. I mean, we all encounter, I mean, we all get everything, we all sort of encouraging, I mean, because of that, but do you believe and do you identify and do you want to multiply this?
So good. So good, Hester. Ask yourself the question, where are you on that scale? So, so good.
Our minds hearing the terms becomes there. What is now? And in a nutshell, when you recall the word that you've been I've really encountered.
Yeah.
From the what are contacts. But now to keep them engaged, what do? You give them the information that will enable them to do. You see? So I think it would be helpful to get this stage more like a blind for anyone that will need to say how are we not doing and we follow this.
So good. So good. And this is not a quick process, guys. It's not a quick process. I'm going to share a case study with you for East Africa, where you're going to really see how they tried to implement this. And they learned very quickly. They had audacious goals of taking people from encounter almost all the way to multiply within a year. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's going to, it's going to take a couple of years, and it's going to be an ongoing fluid thing. You're going to have people coming into encounter all the time. You're going to have them moving down the value development scale and at different levels all the time. But it's going to be very difficult to move someone from encounter, everyone from encounter to multiply, even within a year. Okay. So again, this is where we're becoming more practical. That one word, value propositions, are resources, programs, or communities that will attract engagement, learning, and development. So you need to understand that your value development scale and your value propositions work hand in hand. Because what is a value proposition? It's what you have to offer to that expression. It's what you have to offer to that community. It's the hook. It's the pull in. It's the buy-in that you want to use. It's the bait that you want to use to bring people into that community. So that could be a value proposition for One Hope, could be the resource itself. Hey, we can provide the resources for you. It could be research. It could be, hey, we're doing asset mapping in South Africa. This is what we've discovered. This is what we found. The GYC, the global youth culture, that's research that we can share with them. We can share with them enrichment trainings. We can equip them. So when, for example, if you're looking at a children and youth worker and you say, okay, by joining this network, you are going to receive the latest research, the latest information when it comes to children and youth in your nation. That's one thing. We are going to offer you enrichment training. We are going to offer you resources. We are looking to equip you. Then as a children and youth worker, I want to be part of that network. We are going to connect you with other people, your peers, your colleagues in your field. When the durable network grows and we've brought outside people in, and then, for example, in that network, someone says, I'm really struggling. I have abused children in my community and I don't know how to reach out. I don't know how to relate to them. Boom, connect them with Kay, connect them with Kay's organization for training. So it's that kingdom-mindedness, interlinking, sharing of knowledge that is so important with the durable network. Maybe it's a case of, in that durable network, a children and youth worker says, I really have a heart to get my youth to be self-sustainable. They don't know how to manage finances. They don't know anything about budgeting or anything like that. Maybe there's an organization in the network that specializes in that. There's an organization in Cape Town that got a weird name, can't remember, but they specialize in that. Bring them in. Please go. Can you equip? Can you empower them? Okay. So there's a value proposition. There's something you are offering to the people who are part of the network. Okay. So the value propositions are also what is going to guide them and lead them to the next step. So you've encountered them, maybe you've engaged with them. Now you need to put out another piece of bait to lead them to believe. And that's where your propositions are going to come in. That's when and that's going to also lead to your sustained relationships, your sustained engagement. So it says there quickly, value propositions give us a clear, attractive offering to bring partners, firstly, into our network and continue encourage them deeper through the value development journey from one stage to the next. So your value propositions are what's going to attract them to the durable network, to the expression, and is also going to keep them involved, leading to that sustained relationship, that sustained engagement, because you know, in your experience, even dealing with children, it's only through that sustained engagement, that sustained relationship with a child that you truly see true impact. Okay. Recap, then we're going to take a little break. It's been a lot of information for you guys. I'm not even going to ask Vision 2030. You should all know Vision 2030 by now. If I ask you the question, what is a durable network? How would you answer that? Anybody? Do I need to call someone out? Chipo? Very good, yeah. It's a vehicle. It's a strategy that's going to get us to Vision 2030. It's a collaboration of like-minded people with a common goal, a common vision, bringing their various expertise, resources together, working towards the same vision. That is your durable network. Africa Vision, anybody?
Vision 2030.
Yeah. Africa to the rest. Yeah, you can say Africa to the rest, but the core thing about Africa Vision I want to say is that God has blessed us. He's given us so much. We have so much already. How can we trust Him to grow and to catalyze that movement to reach the next generation, and start not just receiving, but start giving as well, being contributors. Expression. Key stakeholders, key communities, those 6 key communities that we want to be reaching. Value development scale.
So we use the values that we are doing part or collaborate around throughout use different stakeholders to take them through that journey.
Yes. So the value development scale is the structure of each of the expressions. It forms the structure. It forms the structure that you want to lead the people on that journey you want to take them on. Okay. And value propositions. What you have to offer. Good. What is going to attract them to that community, to that expression, and what is going to keep them engaged in that expression and take them on the journey from one level to the next. Sustained relationships. Glenda? Oh, I wish I had chocolates here. That's very good. Okay, that is so good. Yeah, long-term relationship, and I love the word again, Glenda's used, transformational relationships, not transactional, transformational. All of this ties in. Okay, so you're all experts now in Africa Vision, durable networks, value development scale, expressions, value propositions. And we're going to take a short, I think we can take a short break because we've been going for a while now. It's a lot of information. But when we come back before lunch, I'm going to dive more. I'm going to do a case study with you of how they how they implemented this in East Africa, specifically with the Children and Youth Network. So you can physically see what it might look like on the ground. And I think it's going to solidify things for you more so. But my encouragement to you, take this home, wrestle with it, think it through. As you are doing the Africa Mission Alignment course, they call it the AMA, the Africa Mission Alignment, and you're doing those enrichment courses on those Thursday afternoons. And as you take this, wrestle with it, think it through, pray about it, ask God what He is saying, so that as we have our monthly calls with you, maybe as we touch on this a little bit, as we go into Senegal, you already have a sense of where God is leading you as a leader. Because like John explained, when we're in Senegal, I think we're going to have meetings where we're with a collective, with a group, but then we're also going to have breakaway sessions as a region. And it's in those breakaway sessions we really want to sit and dive into this and think through, wrestle with, what does this look like for our region? What is our value development scale going to look like? What do our value propositions look like? What do we have to offer to the people? What are the challenges? What is the low-hanging fruit? What is the easy access areas? Maybe we should focus on those first. So we're really going to wrestle through this, but to make those meetings as productive as we can, you need to be wrestling with this, and you need to have an understanding of these different terms and kind of where we're going. And that's where the AMA comes in. That's when the enrichment courses come in for you guys as well, to keep wrestling with this, to keep thinking it through. Because if you go to Senegal and Tucker, John, Rob, Bob, whoever might be speaking, is talking about value propositions and value development scale and durable network and expressions and all of that, the idea is that you sit there and you know, okay, I understand that's what he's talking about. I understand that's what he's talking about. Or else we're going to have to backtrack. And it's just going to be a bit of a waste of time. Okay. Any questions before we break for, well, we've had tea, but you can, yeah, any questions? Okay. So guys, let's take a break. It's now 22:11. Let's come back at 12. And then the last hour before lunch, we will just dive into the case study, practically how we do this. Okay. Thank you.
Comes from yes. One card. Let's follow the surface. Right. I was just thinking, I don't know if this is something this is what I shared in the ERC. So remember we said the seeds, but we said how do we know in terms of upcoming school gathering, what do we want to see in terms of their engagement? Goals, the context, you know, so just in some ways I'm like so this is going to apply. Actually, the country in itself, working with the local church, with the local business, to sustain it, because at the end of that, this is what you your church. And this is where it is. I'm just saying, this is because you say that this is not one, but we necessarily talk. We will just see, okay, But on the other hand, maybe it's not bad. So you're now going to stop.
Some of it works.
And it still has to be.
It's the only case. That's the, now I need to do the thing because they jump there. Some counter simply.
So these two things there. Even so I would do it to myself. That's the problem. So that's so you have to say listen, up till now in the past, basically, you've not been very strong. Saying to you, okay, give us all that information, all the data. Those churches, churches, schools that are because all those schools, all those churches are because they benefited from our resources. And so the way we're moving into this in terms of this, you know, because we want to have direct access to them so that we can equip them, even feed them with new information, new But you did it really well because you actually go through and you ask them to share simple terms. So at the end of the day, this is I think if we had done this and said, so what do you actually proving is they didn't know how much because you made it very simple in a sense. What is your understanding of this? It's not the exact words, but and that's exactly what we need. And this is the thing. Exactly. So now this is excellent. This is so good. Just need to do something after lunch. Just need to check.
No, it just it made more sense because we were just thinking instead of us trying to break bread.
And doctor knows what the elements are. He's not expecting it. He might be saying, okay. So it's good that he knows what it is. But so mean, communion is where we finish. So, so
Is there?
What?
See, I was taking my time, but the next moment I was going over some did it. But because like was looking at me.
you just know that
So sharing that he was.
So anyway, so John is all fine. That's fine. Got his massage.
Pretty different. It was me too. I was like, when I read something tired, this and so I'm like,
So that's why program is expensive.
you don't want it to be like Joseph, running out of the shirt. Yeah.
But, John. I have learned that. So that, travel is but for him, I don't like this. For him, it's like the magic. Said, no, sorry, these guys, but he was looking, but well, here's the plans.
Wait, that must be the big center.
So that I'm actually glad this one. Yeah. Are you like, oh, thank God it's gone now. No more massages. All good. Lindsay also had a massage.
You got to massage.
Was it bad? Thanks for the
Parents budget assessment.
That's,
Just make sure he knows what the evidence is, but he's not expecting that. So we just take where it costs the form.
just 24, so no one gets it.
It's like, what is sort of-
But okay, that's on. It's not wrong.
Yeah.
No, but no, it's a it's a social.
Everybody was like, it's so
No,
difficult.
but it's completely, it's in their context, it's socially acceptable, so it makes things so. Yeah. I had friends from some, but then they we would far from it. And if word for them was part of their culture, part of it wasn't, I swear to them and they just speak to me. So you don't know that.
Well, it's the same with John. You know, John would just say, oh my God. And
Yeah.
he's like, "Man, he's using the Lord's name in vain, but he's not." We have a course in like, oh my God.
But you hear it in the background. What is the time?
In 2 minutes.
That's right. That's all I got from the scene.
Lindsay, this weekend, you need to watch the whole session.
There will be an excellent.
Okay, welcome back, guys. We're almost there. We're almost there. An hour until lunch, and then after lunch is closing, and then Jaco's going to lead us in communion. Esther calls them your happy meals, the elements for communion. But we're almost there, guys. So let's just please, last hour of deep intellectual, spiritual consideration. So please just hang in there, and thank you for hanging in for the last hour and a half or so. It was a lot of information and a lot of theory. And I know a lot of you are ministry practitioners. So you don't always, the theory is always out there, but you're asking the question, how do I practically do this on the ground? How do I practically implement this? But this, in a sense, is a necessary evil, if I can put it that way. This is something we need to get, we need to understand these different terms, what they look like, what their meaning is, because that's going to lead to how we then practically implement it on the ground. So it's important. And like I said to you, we haven't figured this out yet 100%. And we're looking to you guys to help us in building the strategic plan for the region. We want you to speak into it, but we want you to speak from a place of understanding, a place from knowledge. So this is giving you the knowledge, this is giving you the understanding that you can then go home, you can wrestle with it, you can think it through, and then you can give good feedback by taking the knowledge you've gained, marrying it with your context, with your understanding, with your experience, then you can give us your feedback back. Your feedback back. Okay. What I want to do quickly in this last hour is talk a bit about the practicality and or not practicality, how we're practically going to potentially do this. I'm going to look at a case study that they did in Kenya, or in East Africa, should I say. It's called Spark. I was going to go to the slide, but it gives you too much information. Then you won't be listening to me, you'll be reading that. And also, just to give you some context here, this was their plan. This was their idea. This is not going to be our plan. This is not going to be our idea. They learned a lot through trying to implement this. They learned some good things, and they also learned not so good things. They learned things that are not going to work, that didn't work. So don't take this as the end all. I just want you to see how this might practically look on the ground. A lot of what they did here, they realized, that's not going to work, that's not going to work, we're moving too far ahead, we're too much information. And as well, this is based on their structure that they have in their region. Our structures look very different to East Africa. So what they have here is not necessarily going to work in our region, but I'm just using this as a case study because it's all we currently have at the moment. So when we look at Spark, igniting a movement. So you think of Spark, catalyze, igniting a movement. Spark is what they called their children and youth workers network. So that one expression we looked at, children and youth workers network, they called it Spark. So an example of Spark, it started off in Eastern Africa. Currently, they're adopting it, using it in 4 countries, 4 of their countries. They're extending it to 3 countries this year. A little bit of the mission behind it, igniting a fire within us to bring others to extend the kingdom of God. Remember, this is aimed at the children and youth workers, those facilitators, those teachers, those people working directly with the children and youth. They want to ignite a fire within them to bring others to extend the kingdom of God. Okay? An example of Spark. Spark expression aims at raising a network. This is their outcomes, their goals, and raising a network of highly equipped and skilled youth and children workers sold out to Vision 2030. The network will achieve this through exponential multiplication to ensure every child gets an opportunity to receive God's word through a children or youth worker directly or through innovating digital platforms. So that is what their outcomes, their goal is for their children and youth worker, children and youth workers expression, which they term as Spark. There's some key words there. I'm hoping you see the value development scale in there. I'm hoping you see the durable network structure in there. They want to raise a network of highly equipped and skilled youth and children workers. How do you raise them up? How do you develop them? How do you equip them? You take them through that value development scale. You take them on that journey by offering them those various value propositions along that value development scale. The net sold out to Vision 2030. So remember, the last step on the value development scale was multiply. They've adopted the core vision, the core passion, the core vision of Vision 2030, Africa Vision. So they become catalysts. They're multiplying themselves. Why? What is the ultimate goal in all of this? To ensure every child gets an opportunity to receive God's word through a children and youth worker, because this is the children and youth work expression, through innovative digital platforms. It's so key, guys. Mission alignment, not mission drift. All of this durable network is moving towards God's word, every child. The ultimate goal, the ultimate outcome through this is to equip children and youth workers to do what? To give to more, what is the right word? To better present God's word to children on the ground. And through innovative digital platforms, also very important. Okay, so this is one of the advertisements that they had for this actual network. They said, join a children and youth workers network. Spark is a movement that aims at raising highly equipped and skilled youth and children workers through trainings, enrollment in courses, and networking Then they've got the contact numbers at the bottom. So if I was a children and youth worker, if I was engaging with children and youth every single day in an African context, and I were to see that, and it depends on the person, it depends on the personality, but this is one way you're going to bring them into that network, possibly the encounter phase or possibly the engagement phase, is by building advertisements such as this. Because I'm like, wow, I'm a children and youth worker. Maybe the children and youth worker feels a little bit isolated. They feel like they're there on their own. I was speaking to Wendy last week as well, and she was saying that exact same thing. As a children and youth worker, sometimes she feels a little bit isolated. And then you come to meetings like this and you're like, wow, there's people out there who have the same vision, the same goal, the same heart as me. And I can learn here, I can develop, I can get equipped, okay? So they want to equip, they want to skill up youth and children workers through trainings, enrollment in courses and networking. I'm like, wow, they offer training, so they're willing to train me. They're willing to put me through a course and networking, and it's for free as well. Children and youth worker, I would be interested. I would be interested in joining something. So that can be the encounter phase. You send this out, they get in contact with you, they give you their contact information, boom, you've got them on your database, you have encountered them. Does that make sense? Okay. This is what their value development scale looked like. So remember, we went through each one of these: encounter, engage, believe, identify, and the last one was multiply. Multiply. Okay, so this is what their value propositions look like. I'll be honest with you, I think within our region, our value proposition within our value development scale is not going to look like that at all. That was based on their structure. Not Kenya, East Africa has a very, very robust, a very, very wide, deep, well-established database when it comes to children and youth workers. They're very, very, that's a very strong point for them. So for them just to take that database of children and youth workers and funnel them into this was very easy. In Southern Africa, we don't have that. So we can't start where they've started. We need to start a few steps back. But I'm using this as an example. So they said, okay, for encounter, we're going to look at our database of children and youth workers, and to encounter them, we're going to offer them One Hope foundational trainings. So your foundational trainings are those trainings, they're not programmatic trainings, they're enrichment trainings, like your Children's Ministry 101, your Youth Ministry 101. We are going to offer them those trainings, and we're going to offer them training on Vision 2030, and we're going to offer them training on outcomes-based ministry. We're going to invite them into the funnel. We're going to invite them into the network by offering them that training. I'll be honest with you, a lot of their children and youth workers had already gone through some of that training. So they simply slip right through the funnel, right down to engage as well. Okay. Then they had 1 for 50 trainings. I don't know if many of you have heard of 1 for 50, but basically the idea behind it is you train one children and youth worker to go out and engage with at least 50 children or youth. Okay, that's the kind of thinking behind it, and it's a specific training program. So they would say, okay, for us, thinking of Afrikaans names now as examples, and it's not going to come out right. But I'm just thinking of a name. Let's just say Joe Soap. Okay. Joe Soap, he comes in and he sees that advertisement and he thinks, wow, that's really interesting. I love children and youth. I work with them every day. I really want to grow. I want to become equipped. I want to connect with other children and youth workers. I want to learn what is currently happening on the ground, what other people's struggles are from or are dealing with and stuff like that. So he comes, boom, he goes through One Hope foundational trainings, Vision 2030, outcomes-based ministry. He finishes those courses and you're keeping track. Data, information is power here, guys. You're keeping track of all of this. Okay, Joe Soap, you finished that. We would now like to offer you 1 for 50 training. Boom, love to do it. He comes in. Okay, Joe Soap, you've now finished 1 for 50 trainings. We want to offer you 414 online courses. So you guys have heard of the 414 online training website where we offer a lot of courses in terms of ministry to children and youth. So you say, okay, come in. we're going to offer you 414 online courses. Once he's completed those courses, now he's getting to the point where he's starting to really understand the vision. He's starting to really understand the mission. He's had all this input. And this isn't over 6 months, guys. This is long term. I'm going through it very quickly. He's had all this input, and then he starts adopting the One Hope DNA. He starts adopting the mission. He starts adopting the vision of One Hope. And you start speaking to him about that One Hope DNA, that hopeful DNA, the core values. I gave you those sheets on Monday, hopeful DNA and the core values. But he starts really believing in this, and he starts thinking to himself, oh, I want to take this further. I want to grow this. I want to start contributing to the durable network. And maybe at this stage, he is now starting to go back and he's actually implementing some of the foundational trainings. He's doing Youth Ministry 101, Children's Ministry 101. Maybe he's doing training on 150 trainings, but he's starting to believe, he's starting to understand, he's starting to really identify with this durable network. And then, boom, One Hope has a term, sons and daughters. We want to raise up sons and daughters. And that term, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but that came out of the All Africa meetings in Kenya, right, in 2017, where this idea, this prophetic word came out of, we want to raise up sons and daughters. Those people, those ministry leaders, those people out there who buy into the vision, who have that mission, that passion to reach the next generation. So then he becomes a son and a daughter. And then he is multiplying, becomes a part of who he is. He is going out, he's spreading the Africa vision amongst children and youth workers. He's spreading the need to reach children and youth. And he himself becomes a catalyst. And the movement just keeps catalyzing, keeps growing, keeps growing. Okay, any questions? Just to bring the balance, this will not work in our region. I want to be open and honest with you, because their system, their structure is very, very different to ours. With Israel coming on board as our training coordinator, we're going to get there. But we when it comes to training, we don't have the database that they have or had. Okay. So let's break this down. I'm going to go through the steps with you quickly. So One Hope foundational trainings, Vision 2030 and OBM, outcomes-based ministry. This is Encounter now. So they said, we're going to invite as many people, children and youth workers, remember, through social media, face-to-face, conferences, advocacy forums, both new and existing partners. They're going to look into their database, who are their current partners. They're going to look wider than that, and they're going to invite people, get the word out there about this durable network, this expression, okay, this opportunity to be trained, this opportunity to receive those value propositions. They then said, okay, we're going to assess what training they have received. Because they have that robust training database, they can then actually almost slot people into where they would be on that value development scale based on the training they've already received. Programmatic, CM, YM, Children's Ministry, Youth Ministry, and Digital Reach, Vision 2030 and outcome-based ministry, create a community, create conversation between those various people who've been encountered. And communication begins through email, social media, and community platforms. Community platforms could be a Telegram group, it could be a WhatsApp group, it could be any real kind of chat platform. Please stop me, I'm going through this quickly, guys. The reason why is I just want you to see it, but this is not what we're going to do, but you can stop and ask questions at any point. Now they're moving from Encounter, they've kind of completed all of those goals for Encounter. They've moved on to Engage. Gray is Engage. Continued equipping using online or in-person 1 for 50 trainings. Personal follow-up through phone calls where necessary. So remember your funnel. At Engage, you're going to have less people now than Encounter. So there's opportunity for more personal one-on-one kind of engagement. Again, That's based on their capacity, not our capacity. I know many of you are thinking, man, if there's 500 people in that kind of engage, how are we going to phone all of them? This is just an example. Then 414, so they finished the 1-450 training. Now we continue equipping, we continue empowering them. 414 Academy cohort learning and regional community created as well. So one of the discussions they had was, take the WhatsApp group, for example, and engage, so encounter, it could be very big, or engage, let's not say engage, could be very wide. But as you start getting down that funnel, be less and less people. So you start creating more intimate, if I can put more personal WhatsApp groups. And it could be, what's the word? Location based. You know, so if you have a country, you say, okay, the children and youth workers in Harare won't be on the same community maybe as the children and youth workers in Bulawayo, just as an example. Okay. Then from there, One Hope DNA. So now you start doing in-depth discussions on value development scale and networking. The only understanding I have for AP is area programs. Brian, do you have any other thought what AP is on there? Must be area programs, because I was wrestling through with it. Lord, what is an AP? I only know it as area program. An area program is exactly what it says, an area program. World Vision uses that a lot, where they have specific programs in specific areas, and you have area program leaders and so forth. Equipping and empowering is continued. So you're continually equipping, you're continually empowering, you're continually enriching them. What are you enriching them with? You're enriching them with training. You're equipping them. You're giving them the latest research. You're connecting them with people like Kay. You're connecting them with people like business leaders. If they come with a need and we have abuse in our school, or we have poverty in our area, we want to do poverty alleviation, you can find those experts that you know, and you can pull them in to contribute or to equip them. Value add of accredited certificates. Everyone loves a piece of paper, a certificate. Okay. 414 Academy, individually self-paced learning. That's 414 Academy is online learning. You learn at your own pace. Then we get to the sons and daughters. Now, multiplication happening and advocacy by S&D. I have no idea what S&D is. I'm sorry, guys. If you can help me, you're welcome to help me. S&D. Ah. I love it. Advocacy by sons and daughters. I'm wrestling like, what is it? That's funny. Okay. Multiplication happening and advocacy by sons and daughters. So they're advocating, they're multiplying the vision. Community development. They become catalysts in their own communities. They become that change in their own communities. Sustainable relationship. You have that ongoing relationship with them. And then a commissioning. Well, that can look like a ceremony of some sort. This becomes a lot more personalized because you're at the bottom of your funnel, not many people there, or become a lot more personalized. But I know what many of you are thinking: capacity. How do we do this? Capacity. I'm going to use Lesotho as an example. You have Mila there. How is she going to do all of that? As the one Hope representative in Lesotho, how is she going to do all of that? And this is something we're going to wrestle through. This is something we're going to work through together. We're going to work on and look at how do we increase our capacity? How can we look to increase our capacity? How can we build a value development scale based on our value propositions that's going to work in our region? Okay. Any questions on that? Grievances? Eh? No, you're entitled to your 8 hours sleep at night, okay? Sorry, say that again.
You say that this model, there are some things that didn't work.
share those?
Yeah, so look, I'm not so in depth with this, but one thing, when I say in depth, I engaged a bit with Alison, who is the training coordinator. She's Africa training coordinator. She's based in Uganda, and I asked her she shared with us a bit in terms of that. But one thing was they bit off more than they can chew. They had a goal and they had an outcome in the sense that they wanted to take people through this value development scale within the first year. And they immediately realized that is not going to be possible. It's going to take much longer than that as well. Brian, can you think of anything?
Why we say what did not work?
What didn't work and what did they maybe learn from the
Yeah, I
process?
think they recognize that for this to be effective, you need to build capacity on the ground.
Yeah.
In each country. And that capacity is not necessarily one hub having to build capacity, but the partner on the ground building capacity within that partner organization so that you have people that can actually implement this and manage this and oversee it. I think that's one thing. And part of that relates to what Karen said, the fact that they were trying to go too fast. I think from our perspective as well, when we look at when we're going to start launching into this, when you look at the value development scale, there's no way we're going to try and push people through the whole scale in 1 year. It takes time, it's a process, and we would rather start slow, lay a good foundation, and then build. Because of the challenge that they also had, their value proposition. For each level of that value development scale, you need to have what is the next thing that you're offering. So you can quickly run out of value propositions if you don't have enough. We talk about like having a bank. I need a bank, so we develop our value propositions and we deposit it into that bank, and we keep building, we keep adding to that. But part of that is also recognizing for each expression, what are their needs, right? So what do they need next? What do they need next? Because they're on a journey, you want them to go deeper, deeper, deeper. But if you don't have, if you run out of value propositions, then you're still stuck. You have nothing more to give. That's it. So that's what we would rather, we want to learn. What is it for each expression? What are their needs? What do they want? At the beginning level, next level, and then we need to build those value propositions.
Yeah. Any other questions? It's as clear as mud. Eh? Guys, we've got to wrestle with this. We've got to fight through this. I believe this is something in a direction that God is leading us through. And our head office can sit and work on all of this. I can sit in our office in here in Pretoria and work on all of this, but we need your guys' input. We need you guys to let us know this is going to work, this is not going to work. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Because this is Africa Vision. This is where God is taking us, and this is what is hopefully going to lead to mission fulfillment, Vision 2030 for us. And this is what is going to catalyze that movement within the various expressions, within the durable network. Okay. So when we talk about value proposition development, and that's a good thing what Brian was saying now, one of the things we've been wrestling through is, what do we have to offer them? What do we have to offer them? And in some ways, what is going to set us apart from what the world is offering them as well? As leaders, let me ask you this question. How many newsletters do you get in your email inbox on a monthly basis, based on maybe organizations you're partnered with, maybe organizations that you in some way have an affiliation with? Think about that. And how many of those newsletters do you actually open and read? Not your fault. You're busy. You don't have time. You've got so much on your plate. You've got so much to do. I don't read all the newsletters I get. So what is that? Your value proposition has to be so key. It has to entice them. It has to excite them. It has to be something that pulls them in to this network. Okay. Especially at the beginning, because once you've got them, you can work them down in a sense of adopting the mission. So this is what they want from us. It's something that they need. It's something that they want. And something I believe the church is crying out for now, research. Research is a big thing. They want to understand children and youth. They want to understand the context and then the resource themselves to address those heartfelt needs of the children themselves. That's why we're doing a lot of research. What is valuable to them? What are their priorities? What is valuable to them? And then answer the question, how can I make your life better? So when you think of a children and youth worker, your value proposition should revolve around this thing of how can I make their life better? How can I equip them? How can I resource them to be more effective in their roles? How do we maintain sustainable relationships in a durable network? We need to ask ourselves this question, how will you best sustain your relationship? So we create and develop a community that is engaged, but how do we do that? There needs to be consistent communication, there needs to be consistent content, value proposition, and there need to be participation for value add. We want those people in the durable network to be participants, to be participating within their various expressions. Okay. The next thing I just want to quickly touch on is management of data. Like I keep saying through the presentation, information is power. What is going to be key to the success of these durable networks is the information we gather and how we use that information. And the durable network will be nothing without the people being part of the durable network. So I know that each one of you have your databases. You have a database already. I'm sure you do. A network of pastors, a network of children and youth workers, a network of youth. That is what we need to tap in. That is what that low-hanging fruit is going to be. Looking at the databases you have and saying, okay, those are the ones we're going to target first. Those are the ones we're going to bring into this durable network first, because many of them we've encountered already, because we have their data. They've either been through a training already, so there's been some kind of encounter, there's been some kind of engagement with them. That needs to be the low-hanging fruit. So information management, database management becomes so important. And I hope I'm not violating any POPI Act here. In South Africa, we have the POPI Act that protects people's personal information. But I'm just showing you an example of what that data management could look like. So you have a Google Doc. This is data captured from Uganda. You've got the person's full name. You've got their email address. You've got their phone number. You've got their gender. You've got their age range. Something we don't usually think of, but it becomes very important. We've got what organization, what church are they part of? What is their role in the organization or the church? What is their location? Where are they based? And then this carries on. For them, this kind of carries on here. But it kind of shows you for each of those people, what course have they completed? What enrichment course have they completed? You've got Essentials of Children's Ministry, Essential of Youth Ministry, God's Heart for the Outside. It's one of the enrichment courses that we have. And then you can track what have they completed. You can track where they are in that value development scale. So this is where information becomes so important. And we as OneHope are going to ask you as our partners the question, are you willing to share your databases with us? Are you willing to share your networks with us? Not because we want that network and we want to go around you to get to that partner, not in any way like that, but simply because in many ways, you are our direct partner, right? They're our indirect partner through you. But our goal, our hope behind this is that we want them to come into that value development scale so that they can be equipped, they can be enriched, they can be better resourced as well. So if you think about your partners on the ground and that network you have, if you are willing to share that network with us, we can take them through this value development scale. We can offer them those value propositions, which at the end of the day is going to make them more effective in what they do. It's going to benefit your organization and is going to benefit your country as a whole as more children and youth are reached more effectively. So it's something I want you to think about, something to take back. And I don't know what the implications of that are for you, but that is something we will be politely, if I can put it that way, requesting, but that you would think through what it would entail to share your network, your database, so that it can be added to this durable network, so that those people can be uplifted, those people can be equipped. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, the reality is all of those partners you have on the ground that has benefited from One Hope resources. So that would be the churches, that would be the schools, that would be other parachurch organizations that have utilized the One Hope resource. They are partners of One Hope because they've been utilizing the resource and they benefited from that. But in the past, we've not really, although it should be reported on HopeWorks. You know, HopeWorks, when you do the consignments, okay, who's the partner that received, but we know that information on HopeWorks is lacking. Definitely, it's not very complete. We don't have enough information on it. And so from that perspective, we say now we want to make sure we can actually capture information properly. Like not just, okay, here's the name of a person, not even a surname, there's no phone number, there's no email address. So how we're not able to reach those people. So at the end of the day, if we think of this Africa to the rest and building capacity on the ground, building sustainability on, this is going to become critical.
Yeah, definitely. So it's something for you just to think through, something for you to consider, because if you are truly invested in the Africa vision, in Africa to the rest, you're truly invested in catalyzing this movement, we need to be reaching those various expressions. We need to be equipping them. We need to be resourcing them. We need to be educating them on what the current state of children and youth are and what needs to be done. Okay, so just think it through. And this is something you need to go home and pray about as well. Is God calling you to be part of this movement? Is God calling you to go to move into this next chapter with One Hope? Because this is where One Hope is going. And like, I love the analogy of John, you know, some people get on the bus, some people get off the bus. Who knows if I will be with One Hope in 5 years? Who knows if Brian will be with One Hope in 5 years? But we're spirit-led. At the end of the day, we want to be where God wants us to be. And that's important. And that's kingdom-minded. But wherever we are at, we give our all and we bring the best of ourselves to wherever we are. Okay. To have the greatest impact and influence for the kingdom. And yeah.
Almost everything that is but the end.
I'm joking. No, and Abram, this is definitely, it's something, good question, something we need to think through. It's something we need to wrestle through. Is that age thing, is the problem a cultural thing maybe that people don't want to share their age? Is it an offensive thing if you ask people their age, or is it just something you haven't asked?
I think the way is to put it as age range. Most people are okay when you say age range because they won't put their specific age. They'll just put it's between 31 and 40.
Yeah,
so
that
people
can
find it
work.
easy that way, and like putting age for them to say their specific.
And that's exactly where you need to tell us
Yeah.
what works on the ground, what is appropriate, what is not. And we adjust according to that, because at the end of the day, it has to work on the ground. So that feedback you give us is actually going to be very valuable for us. And that's why this is what they've done in East Africa. We're saying we're not going to duplicate what they do. It has to work in our context. And even within Southern Africa, it can be different for different countries. That's that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so again, information is power, because something like this, you could pull a report from it. You could say, okay, in my children and youth network, my 80% of them are over 50, over 60. That's a red flag, because they're not going to be around for forever. You know, then it's a case of thinking, okay, we need to start focusing on younger. We need to get 20-year-old, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds into this expression, into this durable network expression. So you can pull information from it that can speak into your strategic plan.
Well, it's also it's like research. It
Yeah.
actually helps us to know what and each country will be different. But it's going to be interesting to see. Okay, in this specific country, most of the children youth workers are in that age bracket. Where in another country it's different.
Yeah.
Right? And then it's going to also help us to think, okay, well, if most of them are like 60 plus or whatever, then you have to say, okay, we have to then think in long term into the future. We still want them, but how do we put those ones to actually recruit younger and mentor those younger ones to come in as well?
Any thoughts, questions?
Makes sense.
Hmm?
Makes sense.
I'm glad, because when I heard this the first time, it didn't make sense for me.
All I'm not saying to the ladies, don't guess the age because you cannot.
Apparently I'm close to retirement.
Apparently, I'm 21. I like that, Esther, because if you ask someone what was their date of birth, you're not asking them the age, but you can work out their age from the date of birth. No, I understand, but I was just thinking with the age. Sorry, I had a bright moment and I wanted to share it. Guys, I must tell you a story. So my grandmother, I lived with my grandmother in high school for a few years. No one knew her age. She would not share her age with anybody. Even my dad, her son, and he has 3 sisters. None of them knew her age. No, she kept it so secret. And then eventually when she passed away, I asked my dad, so did you look at her ID book? Because he was the executive of the will. And he's like, I did, but I can't remember what date she was born. So he saw it, but he didn't register, and he's also forgotten. So we don't even know what age she was when she died. So she went to the grave with the secret, and no one ever knew.
Doesn't even know. She says I was born when he was ready.
I love it. I love it. So guys, where is this all leading to? Africa to the rest. That's where we're going. Africa vision. What does it mean, Africa to the rest? It means we're no longer just receiving, we're moving to a place of giving. And that speaks